I am present.
Thank you for your presence. With whom are we speaking, please?
Wendy's higher self.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming in again. The last time we spoke was November 2nd, about almost a month ago. And during that time, well, first of all, before we get into that, I'd like you to just let us know if there's anything we need to know first. Do you have a message for any of us? Opening statement.
Many have been sensing a period of transition. Not the transition that you would associate with exiting the human body, but transition into an energetic field, an energetic presence that is encapsulating. It is this energetic transition into this capsule. You may look upon it as it is, as it has been said, a cocooning, a quiet period. But it is an encapsulation. For if it was a cocoon, you would emerge as a new being. This itself is a place of tranquility, a place of quiet, a place of discernment. This encapsulation is shielding you. It is almost as if you've put a barrier around yourself that allows yourself the discernment of what is taking place physically all around you. All the time giving you the quiet place, the tranquil place to rejuvenate, to breathe, to grow. So it is for you to understand, do not quicken this process. It is to enjoy this process. It is this encapsulation that the noise and the clutter and the distractions that are all around you become silent, but yet from your vision, you see what is taking place. And it is this point at which you then have the discernment from deep within of understanding your reconciliation with what is taking place, your understanding, your teaching of what is taking place. And when the encapsulation period is over and you emerge soon enough, your perspective of the physical world around you will be much different. It is as if you have emerged in the same presence, in the same world, in the same existence, but with a true knowing, a true aligning, and a true vision of where your humanity is going. But do not overprocess what has been just given to you. For when you understand what has just been given to you, your mind will want to understand more. but what it is to be at this point. What is changing? Where is it going? What humanity will want? That is not what this period is for. This period is for quiet. It is for tranquility. It will be soon enough that it will be presented to you. And you will understand. But for now, enjoy this period of encapsulation. Enjoy this period of tranquility within.
Thank you for that. Would you almost call it a calm before the storm, or will we not recognize it as a storm by the time we emerge from this place of encapsulation?
The choice words of storm would indicate that there is chaos, or there will be chaos. For what you observe around you now, is it not a storm? Is it not what you exist in that is around you right now a storm? The better question is, where is the complacency in the storm that you exist in now? Where is it that you have recognized that there is a storm in front of you, but yet you keep asking the question of, when will this storm begin? It is to know the storm is around you. It is all around you. And it has not been just in a short time period. For the planet that you exist in has cycles of storms, not physical, not atmospheric, but chaotic storms, humanity-induced storms. For that is what this planet is. This is where you come to learn and understand and acknowledge the difference in humanity, the difference between humanity, the difference between all beings that inhabit this planet. There has not been one period upon your planet where there has been an extended period of calm. And this will continue and continue. But the calm that you're looking for, the calm that all that are seeking exists, and it does not exist in the physical realm that you inhabit. The calm is you. The calm is you. It is you that will shine through. It is you. It is the being. It is the energetics. It is the peace within. Do not forget this peace. Do not forget where you are. Do not forget who you are. There are plenty that have forgotten and choose not to remember. And they will continue to be involved in the storm. But when you have the peace and the tranquility of one's inner self, one's inner knowing, you become the beacon in the storm. You become the safe harbor in the storm. You become the peace and the calm in the storm. So yes, the storm is upon you. It has been upon you, and it will continue. It may look different from period to period, but the storm will remain. But what will change is the amount of peace and calm in individuals as they become aware, of the centeredness. But be assured, there will be plenty that do not wish to remember, and the storm will continue.
Thank you for that. And I don't know if it's just because I'm an optimist or if perhaps I found that place of peace, but I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. Yes, there are protests. Yes, there are mask and vaccine mandates and all kinds of seeming chaos, but to me, it really hasn't been as bad as I was expecting. Maybe I guess that's a good thing.
It is to understand. It is to understand where you and many others are. When you have the awareness and you have the knowing and you have the tranquility that is you, you have the peace and the discernment of who you are, the divine guidance is upon you. Then what you perceive all around you will not be perceived as bad as it is to others. Step back from yourself. Step back from the existence of who you are and place yourself. Open your eyes and place yourself into your existence, but only a mere few years ago. Place yourself in an existence of when you were a young child and look through those eyes. For when you go into meditation and when you go into this tranquil place, you find yourself in a state of bliss, of comfort, of joy, of resilience, because your vision is looking beyond what is taking place. Just as easy as it is to do that, it is as easy to look through your eyes as you were a child, a young adult, but a few years ago, and your perspective will be much different. So have the understanding you can shift your perspective at any point to any point along your timeline to have the observance of that, to keep yourself in a point of realization that you are in a much better energetic place. Your physical being is still mired in the war and in the vaccinations and in the storm, but your higher self, your energetic being, your essence is above that. Your frequency and your knowing and your energetics are much higher in frequency than what is taking place around you. So from that perspective, it is not seemingly as bad.
Thank you. That makes sense. I appreciate that. And that was going to be really my first question. So let's talk about the globe and locations and so forth. I don't like the word starseed much anymore, but for those of us who are service to others and are awake and aware, many people are feeling called to certain locations on the planet and feeling like they have to move, or they have, at least in the past few years, and that it takes on this urgency. Is there a reason? Were we intentionally spread out throughout the globe so that we could hold sort of a web of light around the globe?
Whatever you wish to call yourself, a star seed, an enlightened being in an energetic body, the key point is you have become aware of that experience. You have become aware of that energetic piece. When you become aware of that energetic piece, it begins to harmonize. It begins to seek out other vibrational sources, whether that is location or whether that is another being. And when that frequency is matched, there is a balancing that takes place within the physical body. The energetic body knows it must seek that location, seek that individual out, no matter the distance, no matter the time. And when that takes place, that begins to override the conscious mind, the conscious state of the physical being, in a way in which they become more observant, and you would liken it to a coincidence. They see a particular location over and over and over again. They hear about a particular individual over and over and over again. And the physical body begins to assimilate to that, while all of the energetic pieces are pushing in that direction. And when finally the marriage between the two is made, then the move is the next step. So yes, as a being becomes aware and is energetically placed, awoken, they become a beacon, they become a light, they become a central node on a greater web. Not all pieces move, but then a shift begins to take place. There is another factor that is involved with this, and that is specific to location. It is not that a particular individual is called to a location. It is more so that the location is calling specific individuals. That particular location is sending out a particular frequency for specific individuals to lock onto and to be drawn to. It is very similar to the location of your particular physical location of Charleston, South Carolina. It had sent out a beacon, it had sent out a message to receive in individuals. And many were called to this location. There are many other locations like that. Just as one begins to it begins to collapse. It never disappears, but it begins to collapse, that frequency. Then it may brighten in another location. And individuals that are from one location move to that location. This is purposeful, as it is a combined raising of frequency. There's a cleansing that takes place when multiple individuals are brought to a location. In the aspect of your location, Charleston, South Carolina, there was a cleansing and a clearing that needed to take place, a healing of the surrounding areas that needed to take place. Many were drawn. But now many are exiting to the next location. The healing has not been fully completed, but those that remain will continue to heal, continue to repair, continue to build and rebuild an energetic community.
Amazing. Thank you. And in Wendy's case, that's been happening with people. She's been energetically drawn to certain people lately, correct?
This is correct. It is to understand, as frequencies begin to shift, it is not to say that you've had a dormant frequency or a lower frequency. It is to say that the frequency band begins to shift in amplitude. It becomes a bit more clear. And when it becomes a bit more clear, it is as if the morning fog has dissipated and you begin to see the other individuals that are either coming to you or you're going to. And you have an understanding that when they become present in your field, it is as if your mind begins to say, I don't know why you are here, but I know that we need to do something. So it is this to understand. The connections have already been made. It is just that the frequency needs to clear itself up. The amplitude needs to be a bit higher. The noise needs to be taken out of the signal.
Beautiful analogy. Thank you for that. And so we're also finding that in our clients and the types of clients that are coming, and I just have a quick question for you about that if you're aware. The clients are coming to have energies, attachments, entities, and things cleared, which is something we hadn't addressed in clients in the past. Can you tell me why that's ramping up? Is that for us specifically, or is that happening with many people on Earth right now, that they need this clearing?
Just as a particular location needs clearing, healing, rebuilding, physical beings themselves need the same process. And until they are switched on, will they understand that this process needs to take place? They will fight all that is taking place around them. They will use their physical mind to wrap it around what is taking place. But when it comes to the end of their understanding in the physical presence, then they will begin to seek another opportunity. So what you are experiencing and what many others are experiencing is a shift. You are calling it an attachment, an energetic attachment. And yes, in the physical presence, it would associate it as such. But all that you are dealing with is just that. It is a frequency misalignment. These lower frequencies are imparting themselves into these individuals, and the mind does not understand or can reconcile what this lower frequency is. So then it begins to place itself as a puzzle piece into an image, into a knowing, into an understanding. And yes, there are times, there are physical things that may come with it. But that is different than just an energetic presence. There are those that have transitioned from the physical body and wish to remain around other individuals. Whether they know them or not, these individuals, these beings that have transitioned, are still wanting to be present in the physical plane. And when they find a frequency that equates with theirs, it's a balance. It's easy for them to push through and be present. So I have an understanding that there are multiple layers to this understanding. It is the beings that have transitioned but wish to remain in place because it is something interesting to them that they wish to remain in the physical presence, in the physical plane on this planet. And they are going to have fun, but many will not look upon it as being fun. All they are there for is to enjoy themselves without the understanding of the individual who they are trying to have fun with. So that individual may look upon it as being something negative, something bad. And at that point, they can then be transitioned to the light and be given back to the all for another process. For the beings that are present, that are in frequency, are in an energetic frequency, it is just the association of where they are on the frequency level. And for those that have not experienced lower frequencies, the mind itself, the physical mind itself, is a masterful artist. So allow yourself the knowing that you have the ability, you have the tools to repaint the picture, realign the frequencies, balance out the frequencies, raise the frequencies to a higher dimension. No matter how you wish to do it, there is not a wrong way to do it. It is how you use your tool in order to execute this process.
Fascinating. Thank you. That was very interesting. I guess the segue, though, was simply that those physical beings that need that process are energetically aligning with us and coming into our purview.
This is correct.
Right.
There will be many shifts with, as you say, clients that will be coming to you over the coming months. Much is shifting and changing. Many are becoming aware of different things. To them, it is quite uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. And so in terms of locations and people being drawn to certain locations, are there any locations that are unique to this event, this impending event? Are people going to be energetically drawn to certain locations because of that?
There will be a migration of individuals to, as you would equate it, your eastern seaboard. Just as there will be those that are in the European countries making their way west to the equivalent of your eastern seaboard. For you must understand the chasm that is between the two was once united. And there were many portals and many gateways in that region. They have since been split. They each carry an equal balance of energy, but they are not operable at this point because they have been split. As things begin to shift, your physical planet will begin to shift. As you would say, your North America will begin to shift. The Western regions will begin to shift and begin to expose things that have not been exposed in any being's time frame. There will be many other regions that are further west that will begin to change and shift as well. You must understand your planet itself is quite active. Your planet does move and shift quite frequently, sometimes very abruptly. And as things begin to change, and as you call it, in an event, this is not only going to affect your planet, it is going to affect many planets in your solar system as well as many other galaxies. This is not just a singular event for your humanity and your planet. This is a combined event for all existence. It is a realigning. But with this realigning, it is an energetic shift that does take place. It is an energetic process. Just as the energetics affect the human body, they will affect the physical objects, planets, equally. There will be devastation. But it is not for you to worry about this devastation. For you have a different view. Many that are awoken, many that have their eyes cleared, many have their energetic field in place, understand this. And this is why you are here. You are to be that beacon. Just as it has been explained in the storm, you will be the light, the guidance, the safe harbor. In this, you will as well. And there will be much transition. But again, it is all purposeful. Do not look upon it as this impending doom for your planet, this impending doom for your civilization. For that, your mind will render itself helpless. But look upon it as a rebirthing. This is the universe. This is the all. This is everything giving birth to a new existence. Not only a new humanity, a new planet, a new existence, a new dimension. So allow yourself the peace and understanding that yes, this will take place. But do not be mired in the negative. But keep your perspective of the glory of what will take place.
Thank you for that. And I'm not afraid, but I don't think many beings in physicality would be able to survive those kinds of earth shifts and movement. So as you said, devastation, large numbers of people transitioning would be expected.
This is correct.
And does that correlate with a pole shift? Does that have anything to do with the earth changes that will take place?
That is a cyclical event that takes place upon your planet. That event is on its normal course of time. That is not in conjunction with the, as you say, event.
Okay, thank you. And is also, I've heard that part of the point of the event is to eliminate polarity universe-wide. Is that accurate?
Just as the rebirthing of humanity takes place, the birthing of a new dimension as well. This dimension shifts into a higher dimensional plane, which takes you out of this polarity aspect.
Right. But is it accurate to say that if 3D Earth still exists and there are humans on a 3D Earth in that dimension, will they still experience polarity?
If those that wish to remain behind and those that have chosen to stay behind in that lower dimensional field, yes, polarity will exist because it will remain the same for that physical aspect. Those that have agreed to dimensionally shift out of polarity into a higher dimensional plane, you will not be witness to any lower dimensional aspects. So for you, it will be as if this whole place, this whole planet, this existence is all out of polarity.
And the other question, thank you for that, is my understanding was fifth and maybe even sixth dimension still have some degree of polarity. Is that accurate?
It is going from sixth into seventh is where it is fully eliminated. It is purposeful to wean those beings off of the polarity understanding. If it is something that is completely removed at an instant, yes, your mind would equate it to say, well, if I'm shifting from one dimensional level to another, I don't remember what I was doing in the third, now I'm in the fourth, and now I'm shifting into the fifth. I do not remember what took place previously. Yes, you will remember those aspects as you move. But the further you move to a full light body, the remembrance is less and less. It is something that must take place over a gradual period. Polarity that you understand it now is completely different than polarity between the fifth and sixth dimension. It is ever so slight. It is there just as a reminder. It is there to keep balance. For you must understand, there was a period at which there was very limited polarity upon this planet. But that shifted out and had its purpose. That was to test, to see if this was a place that you could have minimal polarity. But as the beings begin to arrive, many of them were arriving without this piece. They had full polarity integrated into them. And that is where your existent planet is. Many are at the third dimension, full polarity. Many are achieving the fourth dimension, which in itself has a lesser amount of polarity, but a greater understanding of what polarity can do. Arriving into the fifth, you have an understanding that polarity is necessary to keep balance, but it is something that is not needed. Once you achieve the sixth, it is merely just a memory.
Interesting. Very cool. So as we begin to shift up in those dimensions, we will be able to remember, life was what life was like when we were young back in the third dimension, and we'll have an appreciation for where we are at that time, I would imagine.
This is correct.
That's amazing.
You have to understand, as you ascend into a light body, that is where many wish to achieve instantly, is this light body. But it is not that easy. Though it is something that is achievable, you must prepare through each dimension. For each dimension has its lesson to understand, its purpose to take away with you. So yes, looking back upon what you've done in the third or the fourth or the fifth or even the sixth will all be memories. It is not there to dwell upon. Just as you can look back into previous existences as a human at a particular time period upon this planet and what you have done or what has been done to you, and you have been able to bring that into this life, whether it is positive or negative, you will not have that ability to bring that forward with you. It is there just as a scripture in your understanding. It is something you can look upon and understand that this took place. It will have no effect on your existence in that dimension.
I think that might be a good thing in some respects. So thank you. So speaking back again about the Earth, what can you tell us about Yellowstone erupting during this prelude up to the event or during the event?
And just as there's been much activity in your North America, there will be a greater level of activity. It is continuing to grow. Just as the energies that are transitioning your planet now, you will see a greater amount, and then it resides. You will have an understanding. Just as it has been mentioned, there will be a migration to the eastern seaboard. This is because the western regions of your country will shift dramatically. They will not look as they do now. So you must understand, it is not to understand when, but it is to recognize as things begin to change. Keep your physical eye upon the energies that are coming to your planet, as well as how your planet is responding. Your planet's intelligence will give you the response you're looking for. Your planet itself is going through a healing process. This is what it is. It knows that this event, as you call it, is coming, is approaching. This is something that takes place over and over and over again. The frequencies and the balances within the planet itself are slightly off. And in order to get back to balance, back to harmony, back to resonance of itself, it must heal. And in order for it to heal, it must shift. Just as your physical body must shift and move when it begins to feel something in it, the planet itself begins to shift and move when it needs to heal and repair itself and prepare itself for this greater influx of energy.
Fascinating. And if I recall correctly, our friends Donna and Diana understood and were told about what you mentioned with our East Coast and Europe's West Coast having been married, and that there are certain portals and energetic centers, for instance, in Montauk, New York, right?
This is correct.
And so will those be reactivated when those land masses come back together, I guess?
They will not fully integrate together. What will take place? There is an active portal in several locations, but the ones that have been severed, for what you must understand, though there will be a chasm of distance, the energy that will transition this planet will activate between the chasm. So if you have a half here and a half there, the space between will become one open portal, allowing those that wish to transition on, those that wish to go dormant, those that wish to remain but stay safe can enter into. This is a receiving and transport portal.
And that's why people will know to move to those.
This is correct.
Interesting. So let's talk finally about disclosure in our lifetime. And you did say that this event, we would be living for that.
This is correct.
Right. And so are we also in our lifetime going to, as this storm continues to brew around us, are we going to see full disclosure of all of the things that have been happening, all the lies and manipulation, the suppression of ET beings and all of that? Are we going to see that? Or is it not going to be necessary for us, those awakened, to understand that? or to see it in real time?
What you have just asked, you have just answered. The greater question is, what purpose does that information provide to you in this point, in this enlightened state?
Nothing.
Is it more for your curiosity as a human to understand that this individual did this and this thing did that and these people did this?
Yes. Yes. Only by the ego.
It is to understand that human to human, they do many things, and you understand this. That when you have an understanding, you have a point within your energetic being, and you have this alignment. If someone did something to you at this particular point and you did not agree with it, would you seek the information of why they did that to you? Would you seek the information that they have held back from you? Or would you understand it from a different place, a different understanding, a different alignment, a different knowing? That is the greater question when all of that is asked. Where is your alignment? Where is your truth? Where is your knowing? Does your knowing reside within all of the injustices and all of the different things that have been held from you? That is the question. Will ET beings be present upon your planet? They are present upon your planet. You do not see them. They exist. They are all around you. There has been, as you say, disclosure, but many have chosen not to acknowledge it. So have an understanding. It is a matter of focus. Where is your focus? Where does your focus need to be? Does it need to be mired in all of what is taking place? Or does your focus need to be of where you are going? The gloriness of where you are headed, what it will be to be an enlightened being, where you are to service of others.
Yep. I think it's just a matter of us understanding all of those principles, but having to, over time, assimilate and live with that understanding of those principles. So yes, it's one thing to say, yes, I do believe I don't need to know that, or I wouldn't have to seek justice and all of that, but we're so habituated in doing so that it takes a time to kind of learn how to live that way, I think.
It would be asked that for a period of time, that you shift your reasoning, your human reasoning, your human thought process to one that you can observe what is taking place around you. You can observe all of the injustices and all of the non-disclosure information and all the things that are taking place on the human level. You can observe that, but observe it from a point at which it has no bearing or effect on your physical being. You can merely look upon it as going, that is quite interesting, but it does not have an effect of who I am and what I do and my alignment. Oh, that is interesting, but it does not have an effect on what I think or do as an enlightened being. Now, an enlightened being is not one that is completely a light being, but an enlightened being is exactly where you are and where you are moving to. So it is to have the interest of what is taking place, but not have it as part of who you are as an enlightened being. Because when you have these concepts and these understandings and these reasonings, there's an imbalance. There's an imbalance in that enlightenment. It's not to say that you sit and meditate in quiet 24/7, but it is to understand that as you grow in your understanding, your divine self, the service to others, that yes, all of this can take place and it can be in this eye, but this eye is fully focused and fully aligned. And what takes place over here is not affecting anything that I do.
Thank you. And the only other thing I would say to that is that it's also, I feel, challenging to walk the tightrope between being that enlightened being, watching from the observer standpoint, and feeling in doing so that you're callous or not compassionate to the injustices that are going on to fellow humanity.
It is not to say to be callous. It is not to say that you cannot have compassion and human compassion. It is not to say that your energetic being cannot have compassion for those that have been afflicted by certain things, injustices, mistruths. But when you have that compassion, it is coming from a different place than it is from the human side of things. For yes, as you have eloquently stated, the tightrope, one foot in front of another, keeping an equal balance of existence. That is how you remain. An equal balance. Right now, it is not so much a tightrope. It is quite a wide platform. Because you can take a few steps to the left and be fully mired in everything that is taking place and have it be all human, and it affect you human-wise, your human state. Then you can take a few steps to the left or to the right and be fully enlightened, fully energetic, and forget all of what is taking place over here. But the tightrope is the best example. For it takes one foot in front of the other, equally spaced, to keep equal balance in both. Symmetry in both existences. So that way, when you feel as if you are slightly off balance, you can just move that weight just to one side and you are back in balance. Instead of taking several steps from one side to the other and back over. It is a balancing act. But when you are in balance, you see things much differently. You understand them much differently. Your energetic being responds much differently.
Thank you for that. I appreciate those thoughts. The last question is a personal one. Are you able to tap into the Reiki session